and where your hip is, right? So you don't put it in your knees. We put it a little bit lower than that. Your feet are gonna be together on the inside. Hands are coming underneath your knees. You're sitting up super tall. Take a nice deep inhale and exhale, slowly curling back. And as we curl back, we already give a nice little squeeze of the thighs. Take another inhale and then exhale up. Now at this moment, I almost want you to sense like where are your arms, where do they feel comfortable? If you feel like, actually, you know what, I want to float my elbows, out a little bit, you can absolutely do that as well. But see if we can add a little bit of movement in the elbows, just a tiny bit, not necessarily the shoulders, but like reaching up with the elbows, and then on the way back, you're returning them back to your hips. Good, 2 more. Squeezing as we roll back, creating a little bit more space throughout the vertebrae. And then your last time here. Squeezing as your elbows come up, shoulders down, exhale back. Great, let's release the hands, slowly curling on down for me. Tapping at the lower back for the moment, and then squeezing again on our exhale up. So you're almost using the ball to help you come up on that nice little squeeze. Squeezing as you come up. Good, 3 more. Inhale, slowly rolling, tapping your lower back only. Exhale, squeeze that ball, extend the arms. And 2. Awesome, last time here. Tapping, and then reaching. Great, bringing your feet a tiny bit closer, slowly lowering down 1 vertebrae at a time until we hit the shoulder blades. Hands come behind your head, and we take a nice deep breath. Great, we're slowly stretching this right arm to the side as we squeeze that ball. Exhale, bring the hand behind, changing arms. So when we stretch out the arm, I want there to be a nice little squeeze on the other thighs. Exhale, release. And if you feel like your legs are too far away from you for some reason, feel free to bring them closer, or the alternate, if they are too close, feel free to bring them further away. I want your back to be neutrally happy in the mat. So meaning there's no arching through the spine. You don't feel too much tension in the hips. Great, 2 more. Now again, each time we reach, we notice how we can extend the arms a tiny bit longer. And when you find your way back, it's almost like a very active way back, meaning it's not just like oh, I'm just dropping my arm and then bringing it back, right? It's a really active, I'm reaching, and then I'm reaching all the way back. Great, bring your feet in towards the tabletop position, take a deep breath, and let's try that again. Inhaling, squeezing the ball as you tap down. Exhale, release, come back to your head. Now you're squeezing, I would say like 85%. Meaning you could technically squeeze a little bit more, but we're not trying to squeeze all of the air out of it. And noticing what happens with your legs and with your core as you have to lift and hold just a bit more. Inhaling, reach, exhale, come back. Good, last one on this side. Cool, take another stretch. We're gonna bring our legs out to some sort of a 45-degree angle. If you feel like you really need to keep your legs up, go for it. If you feel like you can keep your legs somewhat lower down, great, but somewhere in the middle. Squeezing the ball as you come to the side. Exhale, release a little bit, hands behind your head. And of course, if you feel like you need to bend your knees because this position is a little bit too far out, by all means, go for it. Inhaling here, exhale, squeeze, release. And then just thigh rolling, meaning we're not just squeezing in. I want you to think about it almost like wrapping your thighs, like the top of your thighs around the ball, so you get like another little level of dimension of squeeze. Great. Inhale, reach. Exhale, back. And then your last time here. Super slowly coming back to the center, tapping your toes, lowering down for me just with your upper body for 3, 2, and 1. Great. Bringing your arms out to your T position, palms up. Slowly lowering down just to a point where you feel like you can hold it. I don't even necessarily want you touching the floor. Squeeze that ball and then find your way back up. You get to the top, you release. Inhale, slowly lowering down, finding your core, holding your position. And when you feel like, yep, this is where I can hold it, then you give the ball an extra little squeeze and then find your way back up. Good, 3 more, releasing the ball. Inhale, lowering down, finding that position of holding your sweet spot where your back is still nice and melted. Squeeze that ball, find your way back up. Great, and your last 2 here. And noticing again how when your palms are facing up, there's not that extra groundedness through the center, through the hands. But that's still okay because you have the entirety of your belly. And then you squeeze and find your way up. Great, palms are gonna come down now, slowly lowering down again, finding that nice happy sweet spot. And we squeeze here for 5, belly down, 4, keep breathing for 3, 2, and 1. Great, back to the center, take a deep breath. Soles of your feet come right back to the floor, reaching your palms all the way up towards the ceiling, shoulders stay down, walking your feet a tiny bit closer to you, and then slowly lifting up your hips, your lower back, your middle back, and finding your nice bridge position here. Great, we're squeezing the ball at the top, and then slowly releasing. Coming down halfway with your bum, squeezing the ball here, and then releasing. Great, all the way up to the top. Squeeze on the inhale, exhale, release. So you're basically just making small little half moves with your hips. Now when we come down halfway, I still want you to notice that you're still holding from your belly. So even if your thighs and your glutes are active, you're not just letting go of the belly, right? You still hold the belly here, almost like activating it even more, and then we're reaching back up. Great, a few more to go. And seeing, can we melt the shoulders a little bit more down the back? Can you find that that energy literally like floats out through the fingertips? Can you notice how your breath is super supportive here? So that inhale, squeeze, release, exhale, lower. Great, almost done. And your last one here, inhaling, squeeze and release, exhale, lift. Great, opening your arms to a V position. We're gonna squeeze as the elbows come in, and then exhale, release and stretch. So almost like you have to fight that space a little bit more than normal space. Inhaling, squeeze with the inner thighs, exhale, release. Now, even if you feel like you wanna turn your palms down at the top, like you can play around a little bit with that arm motion. I do want your elbows coming in, but if you wanna keep your arms totally straight, palms up, that's great. If you want to push your palms down at the end, that's also great. Just noticing what your arms need at this given moment. And seeing if your hips have dropped a little bit, if you can lift them up a tiny bit more. And noticing that we're trying to keep those hips parallel, or rather square to the floor as well, right? So not one hip is higher than the other at this moment. Good, 2 more. Last time. Great, arms come all the way up and slowly melt your spine down 1 vertebrae at a time on 3, 2, and 1. Great, take the ball out from in between the thighs. Open up your legs and just gently rock side to side. Alrighty, let's put the ball underneath the right foot. Left foot stays on the floor. We reach the arms all the way up nice and long. And then inhale, take a nice little stretch. Exhale, melt down to the floor. Head, neck, and shoulders come up, and we reach. Good. Let's keep the right hand behind your head, The left hand goes on the floor. Keeping the left leg there. You're stretching out this right leg all the way here. And at the same time, you're bringing your left arm to a T position and then squeezing back. So it's almost like your arm is making a quarter of a circle and you're coming on back. And noticing here, can you stretch out your leg all the way? Almost sensing how your calf gets a little bit of a stretch at the end too. Great. 4 more. And still finding that groundedness through the left side. So you'll notice, right, the right hip isn't coming off, the left hip isn't coming off. You can continually find a little bit more lift through the belly. And even if you feel at some point you need to put your head, neck, and shoulders down, you can do so. Remember, we're trying to lift, though, a little bit more to look at the belly. Good. Last time here. Great. Floating this left knee into a tabletop. Let's repeat. So you're reaching out with the right, elbow goes out, and come on back. It's that nice push behind and then a nice release down towards you, but it's still very active. So if you notice that your shoulder on the left is still lifting up a little bit more when you push back, then just make the range of motion smaller. And if your ball starts to float away from you, feel free to bring it back to you. Super, 2 more. Last time here. Excellent. That leg goes out to a 45-degree angle or 90, depending on where you're feeling comfortable and where you want to challenge yourself. Here we go. Stretch it on out and come on back. So remember, the idea is the left leg stays super stable. You find that reach all the way through the right side. And you notice how the back continually opens. That right elbow stays all the way open as well. You reach and push, exhale back. 4 more for me. And can you notice how your body is nice and warm at this moment? Kind of knowing what it has to do, knowing where it has to hold, but you still need to focus to keep all of those checkpoints in place. Great. Last full one here. Awesome. Staying all the way here for me. Left hand comes behind your head. We're bringing this left leg down for me, bicycling it, and then stretching it on up. So we just worked that right leg in respects of movement, and we were holding the left. Now we're just adding a little bit of flow into that left leg. And we still push down into the right leg so that the heel gets kind of grounded into the ball. Great. 4 more. And at this point, you can really sense how your ribs expand and how we bring the breath all the way back, kind of reweaving everything, right? Bringing it back into that internal cozy package. Last 2. And then last one here. Super slowly come back to the center, roll that right foot in, take a deep breath, returning your hands all the way down by your side, palms facing down, and then lower down for me on 3, 2, and 1. Great, let's bring that the ball straight away underneath the left foot. And then reaching the arms all the way up, inhaling, taking your nice little stretch, exhaling, melting down into the floor, arms come up, head, neck, and shoulders follow when we reach. Great, one hand on top of each, I lied. Left hand behind you, right hand all the way long. So for the beginning, right, the right foot stays all the way planted and you come on back. So it's almost like, again, you're pushing with the outside or the back part of your right arm, almost noticing the back of your shoulder gets a nice little activation stretch. Super, 6 more. Left elbow still stays wide. And we only make this as big as we need to. Right? We're not trying to overstretch, but we are trying to incorporate a little bit more reach as you push back and lengthen and then come back. Great. 3. And almost finding, like, I like to say, a meditative flow, right? Like your body knows what the moves are. You still have to focus, but that you can allow for a sense of release at the same time. Great, bring the ball a little bit closer if it's run away from you. Floating this right knee into the tabletop, and let's repeat 8 times. So you're inhaling out and exhale back. And now you'll notice if your knee gets really close to you, it's a little bit easier for the right leg. And if the right leg gets a little bit further away, then it's a little bit more challenging. So you can find somewhere in the middle as well. That's great. Just notice that if you feel like you need to make it a tiny bit easier, just bring that right knee a little bit closer. Or reverse, if you want to make it a little bit more challenging, bring that right leg a little bit further away. Super. 2 more. And then your last reach here. Great. Readjusting the ball and then stretching up the right leg, deciding if you want to keep it up or down a little bit. Your call. You can always adjust as necessary. And then 8 times here, squeezing on back. And again, if you need to wiggle at any moment to get a little bit more space, go for it. The left arm should already almost be getting a little tired, or at least I feel like mine is. Right? You're pushing actively against it. It's not just like a, I'm kind of hanging, right? You're still actively pushing that left elbow back. Super, last 4. And noticing here how you can still release everything from that right leg, meaning I don't want you just holding through the hip socket. I want you to keep it really nice and long. Last full set here. Good. Keeping the left leg long, right hand comes behind your head, and we bicycle this right leg 8 times, allowing for that stretch all the way at the top. And making this range of motion as big as you need it, but also pretty slow, right? The goal is not to speed through this or to race through it. It's to really push down the entirety of the leg, find a nice little length in the middle, and then reach all the way to the top and hold for a second before we start again. Super. 4 more. And noticing again how you might even be able to palm up a tiny bit higher away from the shoulders, and that your leg gets a little bit longer. You might even be able to melt a tiny bit further down into the floor. And your last one here. Super, bringing everything back to the center. Take a deep breath. Palms come all the way down, stretching out your arms, and then lower down for me on 3, 2, and 1. Awesome. Let's bring the ball underneath the lower back. Now, when I say underneath the lower back, it's not like in the back, right? I want you to be like almost the top of your pants and the top of your bum is like resting on the ball. So it should feel comfortably supportive. You're gonna bring your feet a little bit wider than your hips for the moment. Palms are coming all the way out towards a T position. And we're doing some hip curls. So I want you to bring the right hip up and then the left. This is almost like a little massage of the back, but you get to use your obliques in the process. So you bring your left hip up a little bit, and then you bring your right hip up. So if you'll notice, your knees might shift a tiny bit, but I want you to do your best to keep your knees upward facing so that when you go to the left, you're not dropping your knees to the right. So it's a small range of motion. You're really digging deep into those core muscles, but noticing how your obliques really get to fire up here, even if it's small. And it's almost like this nice stretch through the side. Great, one more on each side. Lift, and you get to hold at the top. Super. Slowly bringing your feet back towards one another so you have a nice grounded position. Bringing this right leg all the way up and stretching it for a moment. And then seeing, can we bring the left knee into a tabletop? If you feel like that's not where you're at, then keep that left foot all the way down. Great, you're bringing your right leg down to a 45-degree angle, staying here for a second. And then let's gently switch. The left leg comes out. So inhaling, stretch, exhale out. Now you'll notice you're not super far down, right? You're not all the way up at the ceiling, but you're not at a full 45-degree angle either. Not yet. I want you to notice here how we still have to kind of work against gravity, right? You still need to bring the belly button all the way back down. And we can make that breath nice and slow, inhaling all of this side and the other, and then exhaling it out. Great. One more full breath for me here. Shoulders still melting, palms grounding into the floor. Great, so let's end with the right leg nice and long. From here, we're tapping downwards with the left toes. And then on the way up, you're gonna stretch that leg. So the right leg stays extended. You're slowly tapping down with the left and then reaching it up. Super. Inhale, tap down, push into the mat, engage the core, stretch. 4 more for me. And even if you feel a little bit wobbly, that's totally okay. You make your range of motion a little bit smaller, or put that right leg down for support, or you can bend the right leg as well. Great, staying all the way here. Can you lower the right leg a little bit down and then lift it up? So almost tapping at the top. So your left leg is staying nice and long. You're lowering the right a little bit and then squeezing back to the top. Now, this range of motion, again, is not super big because I want it to feel controlled and I want it to have, or I want your form to remain in check. Great, 3 more. Inhaling, extending, reaching all the way out from the legs for 2. And then your last moment here for 1. Super, slowly bring your knees back into the center, take a deep breath. And then reaching out that left leg to a 45-ish degree angle, maybe a little lower. And then tapping down with the right and reaching straight up with it. Straighten up your leg. So remember, that left leg is that stabilization leg. The right leg is now the one that gets a little bit of movement. And we inhale, tap it down, and then exhale, bring the belly back to allow for that simultaneous reach. So it's almost like when your leg goes all the way up, you feel it lifting up, but you can also feel how your belly goes down. So you get like maximum length internally and externally. 3 more. And even if your left leg starts to drop a little bit, that's okay. Just kind of check in with where you want to be able to hold it at this moment. And your last one here, lengthening up all the way to the top on the right, holding here, and then slowly lowering that left leg down just a bit, noticing where you want to stop, and then reaching it back up for 5. Now the range of motion on this left leg can be super small or super big, really depending on what you need at this moment, where you're at, and what feels comfortable. And if it feels comfortable, you take it 1% more to make it uncomfortably comfortable, but never painful, right? Good. Last 2. And then your last one here. Super. Both knees come back to the center. Let's put the right foot down and then the left. Take a deep breath. And then lengthening and lifting your hips off of the floor, releasing the ball, bringing your arms up towards the ceiling. And now snapping your spine down 1 vertebrae at a time, all the way down and down and down and down. Great. Hug your knees into your chest and just rock side to side for a moment. Bringing your knees in towards you, giving a little bit of release of that lower back, even if that was strengthening, just to make sure nothing got stuck. Awesome. Let's put the soles, let's flex out the feet, and it's roll up time with the ball. So the arms come on either side of the ball. Remember, you can dig your heels into the ground if you need to. You inhale, squeeze that ball on the way up. Exhale, keep squeezing as you peel, reaching. Great, so since we just did a lot on the back, I want us to actually point the toes at this moment. Put the ball down and roll yourself a little bit longer, allowing this to be like a stretch and a strengthen simultaneously. Shoulders down. Take another inhale, and then roll the ball. Exhaling it out just a bit more. Now the goal is not to get super flat. I still want that internal curl. Your spine still has a curl in it, just stretch it out. Good, take another inhale. And then exhale, we're gonna roll ourselves 1 vertebrae at a time. You're actually pointing your toes. And when you get about towards your hips, then you flex, you reach, you push, and you find your way all the way back to the top. So it's just about a slow, steady, controlled move. Inhaling up. Exhale, head, neck, and shoulders reach. Remember, support yourself when you need to. Toes come down, push your hands all the way onto the ball, and we slowly roll a little bit more. Shoulders melt down. Inhale here. Exhale, come down a bit more. Great. Inhale here. And then exhale, slowly keep pointing as you curl. You stay small and close to your body. When your ball gets to your hips, you flex, and then you push down on the ball as you roll. And then when you get to your face, you release and stretch. Good. Last time. Inhaling, arms come up. Exhale, head, neck, and shoulders follow. Good, you get to the top, you point your toes, your hands go down with the ball. Take another inhale, fingertips on top. Exhale, reach. Shoulders down, finding that a nice amount of space gets created, right? You're still lifting the belly on your inhale. Exhale, lengthen out a tiny bit more for me. Great, pushing down on the ball, inhale here. And then exhale, stay nice and small, meaning close to your body, shoulders down. When your hands get to your hips, you flex your feet, you keep pushing down on the ball. When you're almost at your face, you grab the ball, reach all the way up and hang out. Great, take another inhale and exhale. Just come up to a seated position on 3, 2, and 1. Awesome. So let's come over into a different position. So your left knee is in front and your right knee is behind. Remember, if you feel like this is too wide or too big, or you need to adjust, you can also sit in this position if that feels better. But see if you can keep this lift. Good. The ball goes into your left hand and you have a nice lengthened feeling here. The right hand comes behind your head and we sit up top. Great. So we roll into the ball. Now, at this point, I don't want your right hip coming off. I really want you to keep your right hip down just for now. And we can continually find a little bit more reach. Great, take another inhale. And then exhale, slowly come back. So it's almost like a side stretch, but you still get to strengthen. So you inhale, lift up a little taller, hip stays grounded. Exhale, use the right hip to ground all the way into the floor as you roll into that ball. Great, right elbow open, shoulders down. Inhale here. Exhale, engage the core to lift back up. Now you'll notice, right, even if you're pushing into the ball, we're still not trying to use the wrist too much, meaning I still want you to use the whole arm, but think about lifting from your side body. It's almost like the left side body gets reached, the right gets stretched. Inhale here, and then engage the core to come all the way back. Great, now we start moving. Now we're gonna lengthen all the way here, and you're allowing your right hip to come a little bit off of the floor, and you're gonna stretch right leg all the way out. Great, take another inhale, and then slowly bend and reconnect all the way at the top. So it's almost like there's an element of reaching first, and when you're like, yep, this is my maximum at this moment, you continue rolling, stretching out that right leg, holding, and then exhaling back. And if you feel like this is not comfortable for you with the ball, you may absolutely just put your hand on the mat and do it without the ball. It's okay. Or stretch out your legs, see what feels comfortable, and then find your way back. Or if that leg stretch is not where you're at today, that's also okay. You can just keep your knee on the floor. You don't have to stretch out your leg. Great, and your last time here. We're holding for a moment. We're stretching out that right leg and we're lifting up. Making small little moves up. Trying to use the core to hold it as well. Great, we have 5, keep breathing. For 4, belly gets lifted, lengthened long with the leg. For 3, 2, and 1. Super slowly bend and then come all the way back to the center. On 3, 2, and 1. Great, bringing your hands towards the front, shifting your sides. And remember to listen to what your hips are telling you, right? Sometimes our hips get super tight. So if you don't want that full leg stretch, don't do it. Or if you just want a little bit, just do a little bit. Great, so the ball goes into your your right hand, down by your side. Great, left hand comes behind your head and we just roll first. So you're inhaling, preparing, sitting up nice and tall. Exhaling, rolling in, hips stay down, upper body still forward facing, right? We're not twisting. You need to adjust, then adjust. Great, take another inhale and then exhale, engage the core, roll back. And you'll notice again, this side may absolutely feel different than the other. So do you need to create a little bit more space with your hips or a little bit less? Can you really ground that left hip all the way down into the floor? Good. Inhale, sit up tall. Exhale, lengthen out. Great. Inhale again. And then exhale all the way up. Get 2 more times. Finding that length all the way through the side body. Noticing how now your left side body is active. So is your right as you squeeze and pull yourself all the way back up. Cool. Last time, shoulders still melting down. Exhaling, reaching that right arm all the way out without lifting the right shoulder. Inhale here, and then exhale, engage the core, come back. Great, now we take a nice little stretch. Letting that hip come off of the floor, and we reach that left leg out. Then we reconnect and find our way back. So I don't want to say that there's more speed. I mean, it's a little bit more speedy, but there's still a little bit more of just a flow feeling, reaching out, and then engage and coming back. 3 more to go, and noticing how you can find your maximum length even if you're moving slowly, right? It doesn't mean that you're throwing your legs around. It just means that you're holding and reaching, finding that space, and then returning back. Great, your last time here, and we hold, we reach, we find that maximum length and lift up a bit more, and then we pulse gently up for 8, 7, chest stays open. Your gaze can be forward facing or down at the floor. Great, we have 4. Keep breathing long for me. 3, trying not to move anything else but the leg. For 2, last time for 1. Super slowly back to the center and take a deep breath. Awesome. Let's put the ball behind us for a moment and just stretch out the hips. So bringing your fingertips forward facing, you're just allowing your hips to drop to the side. Upper body stays forward, and I want you to lift the hips just a little bit more. So you feel like a stretch, not a crazy stretch, but you just feel like a little bit of a release. Great, and then back to the center. So upper body still stays forward. You drop your hips to the left, and then you lift up your right hip a tiny bit more. Great, and then back to the middle. One more time, slowly dropping the hips to the left, keeping that upper body forward facing. Engage the core, just lift up your left hip a tiny bit more for that extra stretch. Great, back to the center, inhaling over to the left. Lifting that right hip a bit more. Great, and then all the way back. Awesome. Put your feet together, take a deep breath. And from here, we're pushing into the feet as you lift the hips up just a bit, and then slowly come down. Good, so your knees stay open a little bit, and you feel like at the top, if you can open your knees a little bit more, go for it. Super, 3 more. Shoulders stay open, allowing the hips to butterfly. And 2. Awesome, last time. Excellent, feet come down on the floor, release the right hand and then the left. Take a nice inhale, and then slowly sit up all the way on 3, 2, and 1. Great. So the ball is coming underneath. You're gonna love me for these. All right, so the ball's gonna go underneath your left knee. Just a quick thing. If at some point you feel like this is just not comfortable, or I feel uncomfortable, or I don't like this, you can always put your knee on the floor directly. Your right leg is gonna go all the way out into a plank, and you're opening up your chest. Okay, we're removing the left toe. So before you were grounding to find your position, now I want you to float the left toes away from the floor, giving it a point. Keeping the chest open, you bring your knee in towards you like a nice little stretch, and then exhale, you can roll the knee back, bringing the foot on the left up towards the ceiling. Inhaling, knee comes in. Exhaling, engaging the core, stretching it out. Great. And if at some point you feel like you need to put your right knee down, you can do that for a second. Just take a break. 4 more here. Now they're still trying to kiss their shoulder blades together, meaning we're not trying to curl through that top body, right? That upper spine still has a nice amount of length and openness, simultaneously opening up your chest. Great, last 2. And noticing here how your whole body stretches on the side. Great. Finding your way back into the center, putting your toes down for a moment, and then floating this right leg up. And if you can, finding your balance and trying to lift, maybe today's not the day, the left toes off of the floor. Sometimes it's just a matter of focus and wobble. Some days are easier, some days are harder. Good, finding your balance here. And if you need to put those left toes down, do it. Otherwise, we lift the right leg and lower it down a bit for 8. 7, shoulders are down. Elbows are still rotated back for 6. We're still lifting from the belly, lowering down for 5. 4, making sure that your arms are more or less in this straight aligned position for 4. 3, nice long toes for 2. Keep those hips square for 1. Right foot comes down, take a deep breath. Great, and then release your knee from the ball, coming into a nice open plank position, holding here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Great, knees come down, and then just shift your weight back for a moment. Maybe the ball has happily landed in between your legs, and just give yourself a stretch. Awesome. So let's try that again on the other side. So we put the ball underneath the right knee. You open up your chest and you find your length first, right? Your chest is open, your belly is lifted, your elbows are nice and bent, and then slowly lift up those right toes away from the floor and notice how you feel. Great. So your knee comes in on the right, and then you slowly bring it back and stretch up. Now, even with this move, the range of motion for you may be smaller or may even be a tiny bit bigger. So it's really up to you. Where can you lengthen out? And if you feel like you need to stop here, then stop here, right? You don't have to bring the ball so far back. It's just about where you can still hold it. Can you add a little bit of an extra hip stretch? And depending on how you feel at the moment, you decide what your range of motion looks like and feels like. 4 more. Hello, ball. And I promise you're not going to burst the ball. Even if it feels like you might, you're just finding that little bit of extra stretch. And still keeping that length all the way through the spine. Elbows stay back. Last one here. Super, finding your way down into the middle. And then slowly trying to lift. Let's stabilize first maybe. Left leg comes up. And then seeing if you can just lift the right toes off. And if that's all you're doing today, then do it. Or you can put your right toes on the floor. And then we lower and lift this left leg. Elbows back, reaching up for 8. Remember, slow, steady, controlled moves is what we're looking for. 7, 6. Keep breathing for 5. This side seems harder. 4, and that's okay. 3. Happy lengthened spine for 2. Almost done for 1. Left foot comes down. Remove the right leg. Come out into a nice open plank. Keeping your elbows back, spine long. Holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Knees come down. Grab the ball if you can with your knees. And then sit back for a second. Awesome. Let's come over onto the side and find a nice little amount of space and reach and lengthen. So the elbow on the right side comes onto the right hip. And the ball is going to be, at a diagonal, meaning we're not rolling it outwards, but we're rolling it at a diagonal. So your elbow is hinged here at your hip and your hands are at a diagonal position. And at the moment, the feet stay together and you lift up the heels. So you inhale, open up the knee, reach out the arms. Now this is the tricky part. I don't want you leaning forward, right? I want you to imagine reaching that whole arm without going anywhere. Exhale, squeeze back, come back to the middle. So the goal here is to still maintain a lot of space between the right ear and the right shoulder. We push into the ball to allow for a little bit more connection and activation through the arms. It's almost like another focal point. Inhaling, the right leg comes up, exhale, come back. Great, 4 more. And you can notice with that gentle push how your whole arm on the right still gets activated in a nice, loving way, I would say, right? It's not like overly stressed. You get to stretch out the right shoulder as you push down on the ball. You keep your hips stacked. You find that length all the way through the breath, and then exhale back. Great, in your last moment here, and all the way back. Great, you're gonna grab onto the ball, reach the arm all the way out, still not lengthening forward, we're still reaching. Open up that right leg and then stretch that right leg all the way up. Pushing down on the ball as the right leg goes behind the left leg just a little bit, noticing where your activation point is, right? If your hips start to shift or you reach forward, you're going too far. Push down again as we lift on up, and at the top you release a little bit. Great, this time the leg comes in front of the left, slowly tapping. Release at the bottom with the ball, and then push the ball as you lengthen the leg right back up. At the top, you release the ball a little bit. So as your leg goes down, you push on the ball, alternating front and back. At the bottom, you release. Exhale, push. Find your way back up. Great. Inhale. Exhale, push forward, down. And if your neck feels like it needs a little bit of less holding, you may absolutely also come down here as well. So just kind of see where you're at and what feels good. Great, pushing up. Inhale, release. Exhale, push down. Super. I'm gonna do one more full set. So again, reaching, pushing, keeping those hips stacked. Belly comes all the way in. Feeling that stretch and the strength and lift simultaneously. Inhale here and exhale, push. Great, and your last time all the way at the top. Super, slowly bring your feet together, close your knees, and then reach yourself all the way down. Cool, from here we're bringing our hand all the way nice and long, grabbing onto the ball, reaching this ball all the way behind us, and stretching for a second. Putting the ball on the floor if you can. Great, from here I want you to roll back just a little bit. You know what, actually you can put your head on the floor instead of on your arm. Roll back just a little bit, allowing the neck to follow, feeling that shoulder stretch through the upper body, keeping your hips still stacked. And then exhale, rolling back, finding your face back towards the middle. Shoulder on the right still stays down. Inhale, lengthen all the way long, twisting a bit more, almost in the opposite direction of when we usually twist. Exhale, come back. Good, only one more to go. Inhale, reaching nice and long, feeling that whole upper body twist. Exhale, push down, find your way back. Great, grabbing the ball all the way here, bringing it nice in front of you, and then pushing yourself all the way up. Okay, let's do the other side. I do love the ball. It's not always necessary, I just find it's fun when you get to roll and play. So, hips stacked one on top of each other. Left elbow stays on the left hip. Remember, the hands are going at a diagonal, not at a nice straight line. So heels come off the floor, and here we go. Inhaling, open and rolling. Exhale, pushing, coming back. And sensing again here, can you reach a little bit more? And it's almost like you feel how your arm can reach long, but your hips stay stacked, and your core allows for this maximum length within that stabilization point. Great, inhaling, stretch. Exhale back. Cool, 4 more. And it's still your choice how much push you put on this ball, right? You can also just use this as like a gentle roll. That's fine, but you'll notice that your arms aren't getting as much activation as they can be. So if you push down a little bit more, I feel like it just awakens your arms a bit more, but it's really your call. And keeping those hips nice and relaxed, even if we're lifting the entirety of our left thigh. Great, almost done here. Remember, we're fighting this speed challenge, right? We want to keep it slow. You don't want to make it too fast. We want to feel how the whole body opens and closes. Great, taking the ball, reaching it nice and long, still not lengthening forward. And then bringing this left knee up and stretching the leg. So you inhale here, exhale, push down on the ball, bring the left leg behind the right. When you get to the bottom, you release the ball, take an inhale, exhale, push down and lift. At the top, we inhale, release, exhale, push down and lengthen. Great, inhale, release, and exhale, lift. Now again, this range of motion is simply a matter of where can you open up today, where can you still stay in your form, and where do you feel like you need to let go a little bit. If that looks like 2 millimeters in each direction, then that's exactly where you need to be. And exhale, push. Inhale, release, and exhale, lengthen. Great, and noticing how this right leg, even if it's off the floor, it's still pretty active. You might notice that your thigh or your glutes get a little bit warm. And if it feels like it's beyond where you're at today, just put the right foot back down on the floor. Almost done here. Exhaling down. Inhale, release. Exhale up. Good. One more in each direction, please. Right? Isn't it so nice to just breathe and stretch and move and hold? And then all the way back. Great. Bringing both feet back towards the center, and knees come back down. Bringing your hand down, and then bring your head just a slight bit beyond your arm. Reaching this left arm all the way up, and then bringing the left arm behind you. Great. So you're inhaling, rolling, keeping your hips stacked, allowing your neck to follow if you want. Exhale, stretch. Inhale again, and then exhale, roll back. You can almost find the direction, meaning if the arm wants to just go out at like a 45-degree angle down, that's fine. If you want to bring it all the way out into all the way behind you, that's fine as well. Just see where you want to stretch out at this moment and what feels comfortable. Super. Bringing your arm all the way up towards the center, hand comes down, push into the ball, and then find your way up. Cool, ladies. Let's do some back. So we're gonna come on to the belly and bringing the ball in front of us. And at the moment your elbows are on the floor and your hands are just resting and your toes are on the outside of your mat. Great, so we're not looking up, we still have this downward feeling so that our spine still stays relatively long and it kind of just curves up a tiny bit at the top with our head. Inhaling here, lifting the elbows off the floor, and then exhale, reaching the arms out, pushing in as we slowly lift the upper body just a bit off. Good, inhale here, and then exhale, roll the ball in, slowly melt yourself down, and at the bottom you put your elbows down. Great, finding a nice little push into the ball. Inhale, elbows up. Exhale, roll and lift simultaneously. Inhale again. And then let's move that whole thing back to the starting point. Inhale, elbows up. Exhale, reach and hold. And maybe you even notice that each time you can come up a tiny bit higher. And if your answer is no, then that's fine as well. 2 more. Inhale, elbows up. Exhale, roll and lift. Inhale, hold. And exhale, lower. Cool, last time. Engaging that expansiveness. Exhale, belly comes all the way up. We hold and reach. Great, feeling the spine strengthen. And then slowly bring everything back down to the center. Elbows come back. Great, inhaling, elbows up again. Reaching nice and long, staying here in your lifted position. And if this feels where you need to stay, then stay here. If you feel like you can bring your feet in towards the center, do it. And exhale, lengthen. Now, if you notice that this is going into your lower back, just come down a little bit. Because sometimes when you lift up too high, it's almost like your back compresses. So we want to keep the legs all the way through the middle, holding and lowering. 2 more. Last time here. And then slowly lower down on 3, 2, and 1. Great, bringing your lengthened body a little bit longer on your floor. Slowly push up just a bit. And this time we reach both hands in front of us. Bringing your hands all the way behind you, changing the hands for you, and then reaching back to the front. Great, inhale, bringing the ball behind, changing hands. Maybe you have to bend your elbows a little bit, and that's totally fine. Great, 3. Actually, bending the elbows a tiny bit at the bottom just makes it a little bit easier to grab. And your last time here. Great, lengthen, squeeze that ball, lengthen both legs off the floor, turning your heels towards each other, and we slowly squeeze together for 8, 7, 6, keep reaching, 5, belly lifted, 4, 3, squeeze, and 1. Super, slowly put the feet down, put the ball down, and then just melt your upper body down for 3, 2, and 1. Great, last set, take another inhale. Exhale, slowly push into the ball, head, neck, and shoulders come up a bit. We reach the arms and go in the opposite direction. Yeah, for 5. And even if you're not in the opposite direction, it's still totally fine for 4. And this doesn't have to be a huge lift, right? Your head, neck, and shoulders are simply hovering above the floor. 2 more. Last time here. Good, holding, lengthening up those legs. This time we bend and stretch for 8. Squeezing the ball if we want for 7. If you need to put the ball down on the floor for a little bit more support, you can do that as well. 5. 4, noticing how your belly still stays lifted. You can still reach a little bit longer for 3, 2, and our last one for 1. Feet come down, hands come down, melting your upper body down. Great, let's put the ball in a stable position, pushing yourself back and rolling nice and far back, allowing your back to stretch, melting downwards into the floor. And you can put your head on the floor, feel free to rock your hips gently side to side. Great. And let's come into a cat-cow for a moment just to stretch out the back. So hands aligned with your elbows and your shoulders and tucking through the middle here. And then exhaling out, curling up. Great. Inhaling, curling through the center. Exhale out. And even these small range of motions, right? You can make this big, you can make this small. We're just releasing all of that space that we just created to make even more space. And your last time. Excellent. Finding your way back into your neutral position. Coming towards the front of your mat for our last 2 exercises. So, feet stay on the floor, heels are grounded, knees are together. You're reaching all the way out with the ball, squeezing it as you hinge back for me a little bit. Cool. Inhaling, twisting towards the right, kicking away with that right leg. Exhale back, staying on the right side only. Inhale, squeeze, twist to the right, kick. Exhale back. So we did a lot of twisting earlier. We stretched, we moved. So finding a little bit more twist here. Right, we did like that side work more than twisting, and now we're just adding to it a little bit more. For 2 and 1. Great, straight away over to the left side. So inhale, twist, kick to the left, and exhale, resist back. And we still find that hinge back, right? Your shoulders still stay down. You can squeeze that ball at any point for like a little bit of extra love or an extra bit of activation. Almost like squeezing it at the very end of my twist. Good. 3 more. 2. Last time here for 1. Excellent. Put both feet on the floor. Excuse me. Both feet on the ball. Sitting up nice and tall for me here. And then hinging back a tiny bit more. Great. You're stretching out both legs. And exhale back. Great. Adding the arms. Reaching back. Stretching out. Exhale, roll back. So you'll notice how your upper body stays long. Your core is still active. We get to reach here for 3, 2, last time 1. Super. Hands come underneath your knees. Keep that hinge. Release the ball. And then we stretch up the legs, holding here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Tap the feet down. And this time release the hands and the legs, holding here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Super. Feet come down, hands next to you. Shift your weight forward. And then just stretch nice and long. Feeling free to open your feet a little bit wider, creating even more space. And like slowly float to one side and then the other. Bending one leg and then the other. So this hanging feeling is just kind of letting things go and allowing your body just to recalibrate kind of the bottom half and then the upper half. Great. And here's where we say yes to everything that fits our vision of what we'd like our life to be. And we actively say no to everything else. And then we take another inhale and exhale, slowly roll on up on 5, 4, 3, 2,